Hey guys, Captain Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and welcome to the Sunday night live stream show. We're going to be chatting fishing, talking weather, talking about what's going on now, what's coming up, and more. Plus, we have breaking news. Breaking news we're going to go over tonight. It's not good. We're going to have to, I don't know what we're going to do, but it's not good breaking news. So we're going to talk about the MRIP gag grouper numbers. The Marine Recreational Information Program dropped a big old sack of coal on us for Christmas. So we're going to talk a little bit about the gag grouper numbers, and we're going to talk a little bit about other positive things as well. But definitely the MRIP gag grouper numbers are going to be a topic tonight. And we're going to answer your questions live, and we're going to be giving away free fishing trips. That's right, $1,500 in free fishing trips. All you have to do is watch the show live, comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream, and then watch live, because you have a chance to win. If your name pops up on the screen and we announce your name at random intervals, we're going to do those giveaways. And if you're one of the lucky winners, you got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address at the phone number on the screen to claim your free trip. So you got to watch live. You got to text us within 5 minutes if you're one of the lucky winners, and you have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to be one of the lucky winners. You can watch on YouTube, you can watch on TikTok, you can watch on Trovo, Twitch, all the different Facebook pages that we're streaming to, but you have to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win during the show. And you got to watch live, because you got 5 minutes or less to claim it by texting us at the phone number on the screen. Also, want to make sure we start off the show as always by giving a shout out to our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. That's right, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't stopped by to see our friends at Gator Jim's Tackle, you are missing out. Great tackle shop, killer deals, packed to the gills with inventory. Really cool people, really great place, amazing prices. So stop on down to Gator Jim's Tackle today and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Again, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Petersburg. Definitely worth a visit. You will enjoy that tackle shop for sure. I love it over there. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to all of our supporters out there in our supporters group. If you've thought about it before, the supporters group is a great place to be. We had our supporters and regulars club Christmas party this past Saturday, where we had free beer, free food, and a good time. Appreciate all the supporters in our supporters group. I appreciate those who could make the party and even those who couldn't. But it's $4.99 a month to join, less than $5. You get behind the scenes access, more communication, and you get access to our private after show, where we talk a little bit more intimately and talk a little bit more up front with you guys, because there's only a few people in the after show. We really dive into things. So great opportunity to join us and get a little closer in that supporters group. So $4.99 a month. It's definitely worth the value and more. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to all those send-in stars tonight. The stars are a way for those watching on Facebook to show their support and help fuel the show. We had Keith White kick us off, Robert Riggs, Adam Franklin with a big 500, Sean Gossier with a big 530, Jeff Reedy with a monster 1730. We also had Mick Higgins with 500, Sam Lang with 830, Richard Blazak, what's up, buddy? Larry White with a big 1,000, D Beers with a big 1,200. What's up, Laura Cambron and Scott Flynn and Jason Richmond. We also had Brian Eakins, Robert Bush, and Richard Bedwell with a big 1,000 stars. Charles Carter with a big 500. Gary Camage and Jason Richmond again. Appreciate you all for sending the stars. We appreciate your support, and it really does help us out quite a bit. Appreciate all those watching on TikTok, on Instagram, on Trovo, and Twitch as well. And, of course, YouTube. Can't forget our YouTubers out there. Tim McCardle, what's up, buddy? Toro, 220 as well. Appreciate you guys both on YouTube. for being supporters. All right, let's get into the inshore side of things and show you what we're catching inshore. Then we're going to work our way near shore and offshore and talk to you a little bit about what's going on out there a little deeper. Then we're going to get into the weather. Then we're going to get into the gag grouper numbers, and then we're going to get into your questions. If you have questions that you want answered live during the show, text us at the phone number on the screen at the bottom of the screen, and we will answer your questions. So again, photos, then weather, then gag grouper numbers, and then your questions. That's how the show's going to line up tonight. And at random intervals, we'll also be giving away some free trips. So stay tuned. And also, don't forget to tag your friends, like the stream, subscribe, all that good stuff as well. So let's start off by showing you what we're catching inshore. Inshore fishing wise, lately the flounder bite has really picked up. We've been seeing quite a few flounder as of late. The redfish bite has been fantastic throughout the area. We're catching redfish from the beaches to the jetty to the bridge to the back bay waters and all the way up into the back bay waters into the upper Tampa Bay area, creek mouths, river mouths, mangrove shorelines, grass flats, oyster bars, dock lines, all holding lots of redfish right now. The redfish bite has been prolific. Live shrimp is a great option. Whitebait still working well. Cut bait becomes good this time of year too. Sheep's head action really picked up quite a bit and should only get better and better as we get into January and February as well. We've been seeing a lot of sheep's head on our dock lines, on our bridges, on our piers, rock piles, but we're even seeing some sheep's head out on the flats too, which is pretty interesting. So the sheep's head have been prolific to say the least. Snook bite has been a little bit tougher this past week, definitely a little bit tougher on the snook. They've been a little bit more finicky. Water temperature was bouncing around a little bit, making them a little confused, and definitely a little bit tougher because of that weaker tide. So didn't see as many snook caught. Saw a lot of snook, just weren't really actively feeding. The trout bite has been stellar though, seeing tons of trout all over the area like the redfish. Trout, redfish, sheep's head are the hot bite. We're seeing a lot of more flounder and a few of those snook kind of. That's been the inshore side of things. And a couple of pompano around as well. Out on the beaches, a lot of silver trout and a lot of whiting out there in the surf. Plus bonnet heads and black tip sharks too. That's about it. Inshore, let's work our way a little bit deeper and show you what we're catching there near shore and offshore. Guess what? Flounder again. Flounder have been prolific even near shore and offshore. We're seeing them as we drift through areas of that softer, patchy sand, or if the boat swings off the ledge, we'll catch some of those flounder. We're seeing some of those catch and release gag grouper. Plenty of good eating gray snapper on our near shore trips mixed in with these yummy hogfish. The hogfish bite has been going really well for us. Seeing quite a few hogfish overall. The 10 hours gives you the best chance to really dial in on them, but we're catching a few even on our 5-hour half days too. So some good hogfish action overall, and the hogfish bite has been so good, even Jose is catching a couple of them at a time. So pretty awesome to see. Our buddy Joe Simons from Salt Strong got in on the hogfish game, caught himself a nice one. Some nice fat mangrove snapper mixed in there near shore with those hogfish as well. So always good to see a couple mangroves come up. Lots of happy young anglers. The half-day bite has been real good on the gray snapper and a couple of those hogfish. Black grouper, true black grouper, carbos is what we call them. True blacks, black grouper, you hear them called a couple different things. We call them carbos a lot. Carborita grouper is the full name that we use often, but seeing a lot more of these, kind of unique for our area. Generally, we catch 1 or 2 a year. We've been catching like 1 a trip as of late, which is pretty cool. Same with these muttons. The mutton snapper was more of like a, hey, every now and again, every couple months, you might see a mutton. Lately, it's been like a mutton snapper fiasco out there, catching 10, 15 mutton snapper on these 39-hour trips, which is awesome. Big red snapper. The red snapper extension has really helped us out. We've been seeing quite a few of them. Couple of nice catch and release gag grouper mixed in there too. The gag grouper are always fun to take a picture with and release. Fat red grouper, which the red grouper will reopen for us January 1st. So the red snapper is going to close, but then red grouper open, and the lane snapper open January 1st too. So we're excited about both of those things. But look at this guy. big old red snapper, and a true black grouper to go home with. So that's a stellar catch. The Flying Hub 2 has been crushing them as well when they're able to get out there with big red snapper, nice scamp grouper mixed in there. There's a beautiful scamp. Wow. Solid scamp there too. This one's 9 pounds, 9.8 pound scamp. Beautiful fat scamp groupers. Always love to see those guys mixed in there too. So good time to get out there and enjoy some fishing. The offshore bite has been hot, as you can see. Now we've talked a little bit about what we're catching. Let's get into the weather a little bit. Then we'll get into those gag grouper numbers. So weather-wise, we go to hubbardsmarina.com. We click fishing trips and then click the weather links page. We're going to hit that 5 and 10 hour forecast area. Take a peek. We can kind of see basically a nice little weather week, somewhat picking up a little bit there around Christmas, calming down a little bit Thursday before it gets a little bit more bumpy there Friday and Saturday. And looking forward to a nice week. Tuesday's looking really good. Christmas Eve, we do have that 10-hour all day going out, and we'll be able to go out there and crush some hogfish. So that way people can have some fresh hogfish for Christmas. Christmas Day, we are closed, and it looks like it's going to be a breezy day anyway. So that works out nicely. Thursday, still a little breezy, but the sea isn't too bad because it's out of the east, so nearshore fishing should be okay Thursday. Friday, it really picks up out of the east, and there's some rain chances, so not great Friday into Saturday, but then it calms down nicely for us Sunday. We get a little bit of a weak cold front there Monday, so it'll be interesting to see how that works out. This weather, this wind Friday and Saturday is likely because there's going to be a pressure gradient fighting over our area before this cold front. So that's kind of hard to forecast, so there's a good chance this could change, fluctuate quite a bit as we move through the work week. So if you have a trip booked Friday, I wouldn't panic yet because often a lot of times that's going to shift quite a bit and going to change a little bit as we move closer. So I wouldn't be too concerned with that Friday forecast yet, but it's something to keep an eye on. We know today is a little breezy, but not terrible. Tomorrow's going to be a little bit nicer, kind of the same, I guess. And then Tuesday's looking really good. So I would say Tuesday's your best fishing day between now and Christmas. And then Thursday, okay, near shore. And then Friday, we're going to keep an eye on. Not looking great right now, but like I said, there's a pretty strong chance that could change. And that's our weather outlook for tonight. So hopefully we get a little bit better of a outlook as we move through the work week on that later Friday situation, but we'll see. LaShonda Brown, appreciate those stars. Barry Long, appreciate those stars as well. Thank you guys so much. Now let's talk about those gag grouper numbers because this just hit the wire, just came out. We're going to go to google.com, and we're going to type into Google there MRIP, M-R-I-P, Marine Recreational Information Program. And that's going to bring you, once you Google MRIP, it's going to bring you to this page about the Marine Recreational Education, or about the Marine Recreational Information Program. And here, once on this page, we're going to scroll down. That first paragraph is going to show you recreational fishing statistics. We're going to click on that. And once you click on that, it's going to bring you to this page under data products. When you go under data products, you're going to find the MRIP query tool. We're going to hit that, and then we're looking for catch data. So very top right, we're going to hit catch data. We're going to look for a time series because we're looking for a time series of catch data. We're going to go to query. We're going to look at the 2024 numbers by wave. We're going to look at the United States subregion. We're going to change that to Gulf of Mexico. So Gulf of Mexico is our geographical area. Species we're interested in. We're going to look up the gag grouper numbers. And then types of fishing, we want all modes combined. And then fishing area, we're going to look at all areas combined. And then type of catch, we want harvest. So that's type A and B1. And then we're going to look at the numbers of fish in pounds, and then we're going to submit query. And remember, before we get here, we submitted query, so now it's looking up the numbers. So before we show you the numbers, I'm going to tell you, The ACL that we were looking to hit, the annual catch limit, was around 288 pounds, or 288,000 pounds in surf's data numbers. So 288 is basically what we were looking for our recreational ACL. So we're hoping the number isn't higher than 288,000 pounds, right? Because we want to come in below our annual catch limit. So we'll go back to that query because it's loaded. And I don't know if you can read this. Can we zoom in a little bit, Josh? Let's see if it messes it up at all. All right, so harvest, total weight. I'm covering it. Oh, can we zoom over? Yeah, there you go. So harvest, total weight. That is, for those who can't read it or see it on the screen, that harvest, what the Marine Recreational Information Program is claiming, is 1 million pounds of gag grouper was caught during that 15-day September season. We were only supposed to catch 288,000 pounds. Not good. So that is more than 3 times what we were supposed to catch. Also, if you do the back of the napkin math, it doesn't add up. Because if they were claiming that we caught 1 million pounds, over 1 million pounds in 15 days, that is like 8,250 fish at an 8-pound average. So they're claiming 8,250 fish a day with an 8-pound average, essentially, is what that's saying. It's impossible. Plus, looking back at those 15 days of gag grouper season in the beginning of September, we canceled 5 days. We canceled 5 days. So if you can say that we canceled on the Flying Hub 2 5 days, can we bring up a calculator? Is that possible? Is there a calculator on our computer? I'm sure there is, right? Nice, there is. So if we canceled 5 days, so they're saying there was 1 million pounds of fish caught. We canceled 5 days, so that's 10 days basically. So that means that's 100,000 pounds a day. Let's say an 8-pound average. So that's 12,000 fish, 12,500 fish a day. That's ridiculous. That just doesn't make any logical sense. And on top of that, the one positive thing is these are preliminary numbers. And we saw last time these preliminary numbers came out by MRIP and they were asinine. And they reviewed it and they started changing the numbers around. So that's one positive thing. The other positive thing is everybody is so fed up with MRIP data and data numbers that the Gulf Council actually voted to manage our gag grouper fishery based on SURF's data, which is State Reef Fish Survey numbers. So the one good shining thing is potentially these are preliminary numbers that could be changed or edited. The other thing is technically these don't necessarily matter as much because we're going to be managing with SURF's data, State Reef Fish Survey data. So hopefully the state of Florida's reef fish numbers come in and they are significantly lower. Last time this happened, last year, the gag grouper numbers from MRIP were like 1.2 million pounds, and SURF's, the state data, was showing like, I think 300 or 400,000 pounds. Significantly lower. So I'm hoping that those numbers hold the same, and if they're showing 1 million, hopefully we'll come in under our ACL, because if there's an overage, if we overfish these gags like they're claiming here, we've overfished them 3 times. If there's an overage, we have to pay it back, and that means our 2025 season, that right now is estimated to between around like 45 days, potentially like 30 to 40 days, 30 to 40, maybe even 45 days in 2025. So I'm betting that we'll have almost the whole month of gag grouper of September to fish for gag grouper in 2025. But if this comes in and it is showing that we overfished and these numbers aren't changed and surfs comes in really high too, then we're screwed. We probably won't have a gag grouper season at all, which is scary to think about. So going to be making some phone calls this week and trying to get some more information on this and hopefully some answers. And hopefully we come in under our ACL and we don't have a payback, so we can get those 30 or 45 days for gag grouper in 2025. Keeping our fingers crossed, to say the least. But the other thing is the head of the Southeast Regional Office, Andy Strelchek, was on our show in the past. And I talked to him a couple weeks ago about coming on our show to talk about lane snapper. And he said sometime in January he might be available. So maybe we can get him on the show to have him talk about the lane snapper and these gag grouper numbers, because I don't understand how it's saying we overshot our quota by more than 3 times. And it's showing that we caught basically almost 8,000 to 12,000 fish a day. It's asinine. Not good. So that's the breaking news on the gag grouper. Not really good, but also it's early, so things could possibly change for the better. And we're going to keep all our fingers and toes crossed and do some legwork to hopefully get better information. So stay tuned. Nick Nieves, appreciate those stars, buddy. Laura Hudson, appreciate those stars. Tim Mornard, appreciate those 500 stars. Also, Don Schuett with a big 1,000 stars. Appreciate you guys. Oh, Nick with a big 1,000 stars. Appreciate you, Nick Nieves. All right, so talked about the gags, talked about the weather, showed you guys photos of what we've been catching. Now it's time to get into your questions. So if you have questions you want answered live during the show, text them into the phone number on the screen. So maybe I didn't explain something really well. Maybe you have more questions on the gags. Maybe you have other questions. Text them into the phone number on the screen, because your comments, we don't get to see all your comments. So if you have comments or questions that you want answered live, text them into the phone number on the screen. James McCullum, appreciate those 500 stars. Before we get into the questions, though, let's give away a free fishing trip. Let's do our 10-hour all-day trip. 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. One lucky winner gets a 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. That is a $280 value. Let's see who the lucky winner is tonight of the 10-hour all-day for 2. Brian Parks from Virginia. Congratulations, Brian Parks. That was funny. I saw my name come in there. If I'm one of the lucky winners, we'll pick again. Don't worry, guys. Brian Parks, congratulations. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address to claim your free trip. All right, next question. What is the best hook-on bait for yellowtail snapper and red snapper? So red snapper bite virtually anything. They are super aggressive, and when red snapper are around, they virtually bite anything and everything. But if you want to get a big red snapper, which most people want to catch a big red snapper, I always encourage people when we're red snapper fishing and you want a big one to go big. You want to use 80-pound leader, an 8 to 10-aught hook, and a really big bait. Bigger bait, bigger hook. So your hook size depends on your bait size. But if you're using a big piece of bonita or a big live bait, you want to use a bigger, like 10-aught hook. And 80-pound test is a good idea. Bigger leader, bigger hook, bigger bait. You're going to be selecting for that bigger fish. If you drop down 40-pound test and a 6-aught hook and a chunk of thread fin like this, you're going to catch a lot of red snapper. But you're also going to have a chance to catch those 13, 14, 15, 16, 18-inch red snapper. If you want to catch the 30-inch red snapper that's going to weigh 12, 15 pounds, or the big dog that's 30 pounds, you want to use a big bait, big leader, big hook, and have a chance for some bigger fish for sure. All right, we got Capt Mike on the line. Let's get our inshore fishing report, and we'll keep going on these questions too. What's going on, Capt Mike? How are you, buddy?
I'm good, my brother. How are you?
Man, you missed our breaking news on the gag grouper data. It
really?
It wasn't good. So I'm glad you missed it.
Yeah, me too. I'm not overly surprised.
No, not at all. I'm very, very disappointed, but hopefully it's preliminary numbers, so things can change. Plus, they're managing by FWC surfs data, state reef fish data this year. So, fingers crossed, the state reef fish data has a little bit more sanity to it compared to these federal numbers that are just asinine, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes me feel, but you do such a great job, Dylan, and you have for many years, getting into this and trying to understand it and trying to be, a positive influence from both the, for hire sector and from the recreational side.
Thank you.
It's really impressive. With that being said, I don't know how you do it. I just don't, because it just, it seems like, curveball after curveball after curveball sometimes.
Yep.
And they're not throwing curveballs for strikes. They're throwing curveballs that aren't anywhere close to the plate. And that gets a little frustrating. So,
yeah.
God bless you, my friend. We need more just like you that are in there doing the fight, doing the battle, because we all know by now, if, those that have unfortunately listened to me for any length of time, no, I just don't have the patience for it. So,
it doesn't sound like you.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I just can't put up with it anymore. They look right at you and tell you one thing, even when they know it's not true, and that's really frustrating. So,
been a little ugly as of late, for sure.
Yeah, it's the holiday season. That's the good news. The good news is Christmas is upon us. So
yeah, and
that's the beauty of it all. And the new moon.
The new moon and the redfish bite and all the other great things we got going on inshore, right?
I agree. I mean, it's been really, really good. Like I said, I've got the holiday here. I've got one more deer hunt in me, another week in the woods, and then I will be fully skinny water crazy after them big yellowmouth trout. So I'm looking forward to, second week, third week of January, just soaking the boat every minute, either on charter or I'll be out there chasing them around just for fun. So it's a super cool time of the year. I like it when it gets cold like this.
Oh, yeah.
Those big trout get up shallow. You can get after them with artificials. It's a lot of fun. The sheephead bites fired off really, really good, really early. I think it's going to be a great season for some really big sheepies. So, there's just a lot to look forward to. I mean, it's cool. Plus, you never know what Santa's going to bring me. Maybe I was a pretty good boy this year. Maybe Santa will bring me some cool stuff.
So I was thinking Santa was going to bring me good news on gag grouper. Last year we got bad news and a bunch of coal, and it looks like this year we're getting coal again. I'm very frustrated.
Well, this one isn't a direct reflection on your behavior. So. I've hung out with you a lot this year. You're pretty well behaved, so I don't think this one you can blame on yourself, buddy.
I know we put a hurting on them. And what's crazy to me is we canceled, looking back at that 15-day gag grouper season this year, we canceled 5 days because of weather. So it boggles the mind how they can say we caught 1 million pounds in 15 days when we had such bad weather. But all we can do is hurry up and wait and see how these numbers fall out.
It does my heart good to, when you get a glimpse into my thought process. And you do a good job because you start to come over just a little bit, like you're just starting to shade over into my lane. You're like, no. And you get right back, which is great because we need you to stay in that good lane. We don't need you to threaten to throw people out the third-story window.
Yeah, you can think about it. You're just not supposed to say it.
Well, and, I just, my filter is not super strong anymore. I mean, you're young. Your filter's still good. I'm old, and my filter's not where it should be, my friend. So.
Yeah. All
gets
right.
me in a lot of trouble. It gets me in a lot of trouble. But yeah, listen, this new moon, this week coming up should be fire. That near shore bite really, really gets good this time of year. A lot of big fish make it in close to some of these, near shore reefs, St. Pete Reef, all that stuff usually goes off this time of year. So it's a super cool time. You just got to get the weather. And I know that can be frustrating sometimes, but we live in Florida, so the good news is, unless you're here on vacation, there will be better days. If you get blown out one day, you got good days coming. So.
Yeah, and if you are here on vacation, I always tell people this time of year, if you're coming into town for 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, you should always book your fishing trip at the very start of your vacation. That way, if the weather is bad, if we do get a cold front, generally it's only bad for a few days, and you'll have that chance to reschedule at the back half of your vacation.
Right. Well, and what I try to do is I try to, book my charters to marinas or places where we can get out of it if it does blow.
Yeah.
Where I can still make a day of it. Because you hate, especially again for those people just visiting, they get down here once or twice a year and just really want to get on the water. They're, iced in or snowed in wherever they are and they can't get on the water at all. So they just want to go fishing for a day. There's a lot of places on Tampa Bay, almost any wind condition, less a tropical storm, that you can, get out of it somewhere and still catch some fish.
Yeah.
We got a lot of great downtown areas. Downtown Tampa is really good.
Especially
the intercoastal waterway is really good. Yes, for sure. There's no doubt.
I mean, that back bay, upper bay stuff gets good. I mean, worst case scenario, this time of year, you can basically tie up underneath a bridge and sheepshead fish.
100%. 100%. And listen, the intercoastal waterway stretches for miles.
Yeah.
And miles. And there's docks after docks after docks after docks and little canals and little cutoffs and muddy bottom creeks and all kinds of stuff all over that thing that hold fish this time of year.
Yep.
So, any good, you either you put your time in with your own boat, your own kayak, whatever you're doing, or you pick a really good fishing guide, and there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them that ain't so good, but there's a ton of them that are real good. Get with a good fishing guide, a good captain, and just cut him loose.
Yeah.
Tell him, hey, we just want to bend the rod, catch some fish, put us somewhere, and they want you to come back again. They'll put you on them.
And you can always book with Mike right on our website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing charters, hit inshore fishing trips, and his phone number is right there. So you can give Capt Mike a call, and he can get you set up with someone. Or maybe even take you yourself. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. It's possible. It's possible. If the day's open, I'll definitely take you. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. The batteries will be recharged here from the woods, and the holidays will be behind us, and we'll be marching into 2025 ready to rock and roll. So I think, like I said, and I've been saying it for weeks, that this weather, it always excites me when we've got, cold weather. Even if it starts to warm up a little early, if it gets a little warm in February, we've had a nice, long, cool stretch here. I'd like it to extend into January and February. Personally, I think it's better if it does. But at least we had some. We've had, years in the past where it's been cold for 3 days, and the rest of the winter's, 80 degrees.
Yeah.
And I just think the spring is so much better. I'm so fired up for the spring already, just because we've had an extended colder season so far. And if it continues, it's just getting better by the day.
Amen. Well, I
Good
appreciate
stuff.
you,
Merry
brother.
Christmas.
I
Merry Christmas to you, the listeners. I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of the show, brother. Appreciate your partnership and getting to spend some time with you on Saturday mornings and our iCast adventures, all the good stuff we get to do, bro. You have an amazing family, an amazing business over there. I love being partnered with you. So
I appreciate you, brother. Merry Christmas to you, and I hope you have a very successful doe hunt in Georgia, and you bring back bounties of overflowing truckloads of venison sausage. Looking forward to it.
Too much to put in my own freezer, maybe?
Yes, that's what we can all hope and dream of.
I know a place. I know somebody who needs them. I got you on my list.
All right, my friend. You have a good night, Mike. Tell Beth I said hello.
Be good. We'll do it. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. And stop eating at Waffle House. Who personally, if you're sitting at home right now, what sane person in their own mind gets up in the morning and they're in their beautiful kitchen, beautiful home, and they're like, hey, you want to go eat at Waffle House? That is not normal.
I've been a Village Inn before Waffle House.
I'd go literally anywhere. Anywhere. I would go to McDonald's, and that's saying something, before I ate at Waffle House. Waffle House is the choice you make when it's 3 a.m. and nothing else is open and you're hammered drunk and someone else is driving, of course. That's your only option. That's Waffle House. Or if you're on a road trip and you just can't make it anymore, there's no other options, that's Waffle House. But who I don't understand the mental acuity it takes to leave your home and drive past all these wonderful family-owned restaurants and great diners that we have to go to a Waffle House. Mike and his wife does that. They did that today. It's very concerning, Josh. It's made me question our partnership.
I mean, what if he was going there to see a fight?
No, he legitimately, him and his wife enjoy Waffle House. It's
all right.
It's concerning. It's
We
concerning,
probably have
guys.
a nice Waffle House by then.
Like, there's the Kiki's restaurant, like that chain. There's so many other chains I would go to, but I wouldn't even prefer a chain. Like, there's so many great, like, mom and pop diners that have just, like, great, or make eggs at home, for God's sakes. I digress. Back to fishing. Let's get into your questions. How long will red snapper season be? How long will lane snapper season be? There is no such thing as lane snapper season. Lane snapper are open all year round. However, caveat, lane snapper has a quota. And when that quota is projected to be met, they have to close the fishery, close harvest. Same thing with red grouper. There's no such thing as a red grouper season. They're open all year. But when the quota is projected to be met, they close the season. So, lane snapper open at the beginning of the fishing year. So, January 1st, 2025 rolls around. Lane snapper is open, red grouper is open. However, they're going to be watching those quotas. If those quotas are projected to be met, then they could close the season early. So we saw lane snapper close early this year. Hopefully, we're going to have some things in place. We just passed a motion in our Refish advisory panel. I proposed it, and luckily they bought it. And the motion basically, I would read you the motion, but it's very complicated. Basically, the Refish AP recommends the Science and Statistical Committee and the Council evaluate catch limits for lane snapper using Tier 3A of the ABC control rule and the G. Fisher data to monitor lane snapper stock for changes in length composition. Whole lot of Spanish there, but basically what that means is what my motion meant was, and I'll be traveling to New Orleans this January for our Gulf Council meeting to speak to the council on this motion and the other things we passed at the Refish advisory panel. But what it means is basically we want to use a different indice of abundance to monitor these lane snapper landings. Right now they use a lane snapper indice of abundance from our headboat data. Headboats have been mandatorily reporting data since 1986 in the Southeast Regional Headboat Survey. So we have to weekly submit data from our headboat trips since 1986. And they're using that length history and data composition to basically use an indice of abundance to monitor the health of the lane snapper quota. And then they do these interim analysis every year to try to give us more catch levels. But hopefully this motion will use that G. Fisher data, which is, G. Fisher is a fancy name for this fisheries independent indice, which is away from fisheries dependent science. So this is scientific data that's collected out in the Gulf. They drop all these cameras down. There's 3 different camera arrays that make up the G. Fisher data. FWC has a camera array. There's a Pascagoula lab that does a camera array. And then there's one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head. But basically, using this fisheries independent data and this Tier 3A control rule of the ABC control rule will help us to remove some of the scientific buffer, remove some of the scientific uncertainty, and raise that catch level. So essentially, the goal is to raise the catch level so that way we won't be projected to hit the catch level and they won't close lane snapper. So that's what we're working on this year to hopefully avoid future lane snapper closures. Red grouper, not as good. Red grouper will start January 1st. So you'll be able to January 1st go out there and catch and keep red grouper and lane snapper again. But red grouper, I'm guessing they're going to close red grouper around the end of May. Potentially even mid-May, but hopefully the end of May. Because last year, 2024, they closed red grouper June 19th, I want to say, somewhere around mid-June. And the MRIP numbers came in and our landings of red grouper were a magnitude higher than what they were supposed to be. So we overfished red grouper is what the MREP numbers are claiming. But as you saw, those asinine MREP numbers on gags, there's a lot of questions on the red grouper numbers too, but they're kind of sticking to their guns and not really changing that red grouper number. So it seems like if we overfished it last year, closing mid-June, probably going to see a closure around the end of May this year. So I'm guessing red grouper will be open January 1st to around the end of May. I'm guessing lane snapper should be open all year if they pass my motion and we can get that done quickly. Red snapper should be open June 1st next year until at least the end of August, but maybe even into September. Amberjack should be open September and October. Then gag should hopefully be open for at least the month of September, maybe even into October, if we don't have this overage. So these gag grouper numbers I showed you earlier in the show are concerning, and that might impact that potential gag grouper season. But we'll see. We'll see. Hurry up and wait. All right, next question. I'm looking to book a charter for 7 people on February 21st. Yeah, definitely. We can do 7 people. We can do 10 people. We can do 14 people. We have private fishing charters on the Hub and Flying Hub 2. And in February, we'll be targeting those red grouper, scamp grouper, mangrove snapper, yellowtails, and many, many more. So plenty of options for a group of 7 people. Give us a call tomorrow. We'll get you set up. Best trip for a novice is our next question. Remember, if you have questions you want answered live during the show, you got to text us into the phone number on the screen. Best trip for novice, I would say the 5-hour half day. Best trip for any age or any level experienced. Start out at the 5-hour half day, learn how to use the rod and reel, how to bait the hook, how to feel the bite, how to do all that stuff, and then step up to a 10-hour. Do a 10-hour or 2, then step up to that 12-hour night trip. Do 1 or 2 of those, then try a 12-hour day trip. The extreme trip, once you've done one of those, jump to that 39-hour trip. And that progression will help you lower that learning curve and help you increase experience. So when you get out there to that deeper water, you're going to have a much better experience for sure. Do you still get to troll this time of year on the 5 and 10-hour trips? Definitely still get to troll any time of year. This time of year, we're still catching a few of those mackerel and a couple kingfish, so trolling is still a very viable, recommended thing for sure. All right, next question. What do we got here? Can we bring electric reels? You can. We don't recommend it. Electric reels are really recommended when you're fishing out there in a 250, 300 foot of water or more. We always are going to be fishing inside of that 99% of the time. We fish about 120 to about 250 on those 12-hour extreme trips, 39 and 44-hour trips. So you don't need an electric reel. We don't really recommend them because they can tend to be heavy and they can tend to kind of make it difficult to move around and difficult to feel the bite. Is there a certain age you have to be to get on the 3-day fishing trip? We recommend on any specialty trip, 12-hour, 39-hour, 44-hour, we recommend no one under the age of 13. That's kind of our general rule of thumb. But if we have like a 10-year-old who's like 5'11", and he's done 5 10-hour trips with us, then we'd make an exception. So it's kind of 13 is that minimum, but it's also kind of parental discretion a little bit. And also we want to make sure that that individual kid, that small girl or small boy isn't going to affect other people's experience on the boat as well. So they need to be experienced fishermen. It is an experienced angler's trip. To any 12, 39, or 44-hour trip are for more experienced anglers. So we always recommend getting a few 10 hours, maybe a 12-hour extreme under your belt before jumping up there. What do you think about pushing, or what do you think is pushing mutton snapper and black grouper into this area? We've seen it with a bunch of different fish, right? So lane snapper. When I was a kid, 20 years ago, we rarely saw lane snapper unless you were fishing between 70 and about 110 foot of water. And we catch a handful of lane snapper. 10, 15, maybe 20, maybe 30 lane snapper on a 10-hour trip if we were fishing 70 foot to 110. Nowadays, you can catch lane snapper on the dock at Hubbard's Marina. You can also catch lane snapper in 160 foot of water. And also you can catch lane snapper in Alabama, off of Texas, off of Louisiana. You can catch lane snapper virtually almost anywhere. And like 20 years ago when I was a kid, lane snapper were like this big, 8-10 inches. You might see a 12, you maybe see a 14-inch lane every blue moon. Now we're catching lane snapper like this. They're 2, 3, sometimes 4-pound lane snapper. So the lane snapper average size has exponentially increased, and their spatial distribution has also increased exponentially. Also, we've seen the same thing with yellowtail snapper. Again, when I was a kid 20 years ago, we had to go way, way south, just south basically, and we might get a couple yellowtail snapper. And we had to be fishing 160 foot, 180 foot, 200 foot of water, way down south. Nowadays, we can go to the north, way up north, and be fishing even shallow, 100, 120 foot, and catch lane snapper. So it is, in the last 20 years, very much changed as far as those lanes, lane snapper and yellowtails, and now muttons. Now we're seeing muttons further north than ever before. We're seeing black grouper further north than ever before. So a lot of these fish are shifting north. What do I think's causing that? There's a variety of different conversations around it. Effort, currents, just the number of fish, food, and then also one common thing that comes up at the Gulf Council level that's brought up is just the temperature of the water. The average temperature of the water is definitely on an increasing trend if you look at sea surface temperatures. So as that sea surface temperature has increased over time, those more historically southern fish like yellowtails, muttons, black grouper have shifted further north. So who knows? We'll see. Can you recommend free fishing classes for novice females? Our Lady Anglers fishing group on Facebook is always a good idea. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com and then under, where's the Lady Anglers page, Josh? If you go to hubbardsmarina.com and hit Marina Info, under Marina Info, there's Lady Anglers. So hubbardsmarina.com, info, Marina Info, Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina. And that brings you to our Lady Anglers page. And you can find our Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina Facebook page. And that's a great place if you're a female angler looking to meet other female anglers. Super helpful in there for sure. Also, I would recommend, as far as free fishing classes, you could always go on our website. We have a ton of video content on our website. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com and click fishing trips, scroll down to fishing video links, we have the fishing tips and tricks page, and this thing is loaded with rigging tips, fishing tips, bait tips, general tips, a lot of videos there. You can also go to fishing video links and go to some of our old fishing seminars at Bass Pro Shops. These are all hour-long seminars where we do Q&A. There's 2 pages of videos there, so there's 40 hours of videos. And then also you can go to Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard, and you can watch these past shows. There's so many of these live shows. We've been doing this every week since 2016. So there's like, I don't know, 400 of these hour-long shows on our website. So there's a lot of different free things. Also YouTube. YouTube is a great place to learn more about fishing for free. If you want to pay $100, Salt Strong is killer. I think it's $100 a year. I think there's a deal. If you go to saltstrong.com/Hubbard, there's a deal there where you not only get a membership, but you also get some free courses as well. So saltstrong.com/Hubbard, if you're going to pay a little bit of money, that is a great place to learn more about fishing at Salt Strong's website, because they have killer information and they put out a ton of content. And you'll get a deal if you go to saltstrong.com/Hubbard. All right, next question. We have a 10-hour on Tuesday with my son. Should I order pinfish? If you're going out Tuesday, before red grouper opens, that would be Tuesday the 24th, Christmas Eve, I would skip the pinfish and focus on shrimp, because right now we're fishing for those hogfish. Lane snapper are closed, so we're fishing a little shallower to avoid the lanes. In that area, we catch hogfish really well. After January 1st, we'll be fishing a little deeper, catching some lanes, and then through the day, we'll shallow up to try to get more of those hogfish. Hogfish, we really target around 40, 50, maybe 60 foot of water. Lane snapper, we really target around 70, 80, 90 foot of water. So a lot of times we'll start deeper and then fish shallower. But right now, we're just fishing on that shallower side of things because that's where those hogfish are, catching plenty of fish and having a good time doing it. So I would definitely do a lot more shrimp for those hogfish and save your money on the pinfish if you're on a 10-hour. If you're on a 12-hour, 39-hour, 44-hour, definitely pinfish is a good idea. And then after the first of the year, when red grouper opens back up, it's a good idea to have some of those pinfish because red grouper love pinfish, and we'll be fishing out there for those lane snapper, and you might get a big red grouper as well. So worth it for sure. Let's see what we got. Are we closed on the 1st? No. We're open all year long except for Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving. So Christmas Day we're closed, Easter Sunday we're closed, I guess you would say, and then Thanksgiving Day. So only 3 days a year is Hubbard's Marina closed. Can you fish the boardwalk at John's Pass? If you were to ask me, yes, you can. You should. Legally, no. They unfortunately closed access to the boardwalk. I voted against it, but unfortunately, I was the only one who voted against that. So as long as we are open and the office is open and we are open for business, you can fish on our dock. If our office is closed, our dock is closed, and it's no trespassing on the dock. So at night, there's nowhere to fish off a dock legally in John's Pass or off the boardwalk. However, a lot of people do fish off the boardwalk at night, and what I found is if you're respectful, you're not jumping over things or climbing over things or getting into areas you're not supposed to be. If you're just respectfully fishing, most of the time the cops don't really bother you. There's a couple cops that'll actually ask you what you're fishing and help you find the snook. So for the most part, I would say you're okay on the boardwalk as long as you're respectful. But technically, no, you're not allowed to. During the day, though, you can fish from our docks as long as we're open. I'm wanting to fish with greenbacks inshore. I can cast net okay, but don't know where to go to find the bait. This time of year, it's harder. When the water gets cold, the bait goes down deeper. So it's really hard to cast net whitebait this time of year. What they do, like guys like Capt Mike who run charters, they'll go out there to the bridges and they'll actually use some fish food, I think it's Marina, tropical fish food is what they use, and they'll actually chum those fish to the surface, and then once they're chummed to the surface, then they'll throw their cast net. So you could try that at a bridge, see if you can chum them up to the surface on a slack tide, but this time of year is tougher for sure for the greenbacks. Shrimp is easy. You can buy that at the tackle shop, and they are biting shrimp a lot. This time of year, there's more shrimp being flushed, and a lot of fish start to get on more of a crustacean feed. So shrimp work pretty well. But inshore fishing is not my specialty. So that would be a better question aimed towards more of an inshore fisherman, but that is my somewhat educated opinion on the matter. All right. We gave away our 10-hour all-day for 2 guests earlier. Let's give away a 5-hour half-day trip for 2 guests. 5-hour half-day trip, 2 guests, 1 lucky winner. Let's see who that lucky winner is of the 5-hour half-day. Jessica Camage. Congratulations, Jessica. You got 5 minutes or less to text us your full home address, and that will give you a free 5-hour half day for 2 guests. If I'm able to troll, I think it's around 10 knots. Would a Daiwa LD60 do the trick with 60-pound mono? It probably would. you might be able to pull that off. The Daiwa LD60, the Saltiga LD60 2-speed would probably be enough to troll in a 5-hour or maybe 10-hour. 39-hour, you'd want to use a little bit bigger of a reel. How do I catch sheep's head? I see a lot of them. Again, not a super expert inshore fishing wise, but I've done a lot of sheep's head fishing. I enjoy it, but that is not what I am professional at. Me personally, I would go to a dock or a pier or a bridge or a jetty or a rock pile, do a little chumming. So a lot of times you can bring up like a flat-headed shovel and say you're going to fish on a section of the dock, go up there and scrape the barnacles just above the water line or maybe just below the water line. Scrape some barnacles off. That gets the barnacles going in the water. Not a lot of them, not for an hour. Scrape a few barnacles off. That gets the smell going in the water. And then you could take some of those barnacles in a bucket and actually use the barnacles as bait. That's really fun, but it's difficult because as soon as they touch that barnacle, they crush it and your bait's gone. So you got to be quick. That's pretty fun though. So you can take a bucket, get it half full with water, kind of put it up against a piling on a line or a rope, and then scrape some barnacles into the water, and your bucket's going to catch some of those barnacles. Or you could just do a little barnacle scrape and then use a small piece of shrimp, a small piece of clam, a small piece of oyster, even a small piece of fiddler crab, great bait. Sand flea, great bait. Definitely buy a piling of a dock or a pier or a bridge as close to that structure as possible. You want to use minimal weight, so a small split shot's a good idea. Normally they put like a split shot about 6 to 10 inches above the hook. That way your weight is close to your hook. You're able to keep that weight closer to the piling and make sure that weight's right alongside the piling, and that bait's going to be right there next to your weight, keeping it in front of the piling. And just be quick, because those sheep's head bite quick, and they got a tough mouth, so you got to really kind of set the hook. And then you're right there next to a piling, so you got to get them away from the piling. They're a lot of fun. But chumming them up a little bit is a good idea. All right, next question. What do we got? Oh, Threads Red sent us a bunch of stuff on TikTok. That's awesome. Connor, what's going on TikTok? Appreciate you, buddy. Let's see. What else do we got question-wise? On Swell. Are we out of questions? Mm-hmm. What? We're out of questions already? Maybe we can help. What was that one that said maybe you can help me?
That's the one about
the charters. We already answered that one. Mm-hmm. Wow, we are fast tonight, guys. Or you just don't have a lot of questions because we answered them all. Canned corn. Yeah, Brian Ankle said canned corn. I've definitely heard of that working. I've seen it work on a TikTok video. It's pretty wild. They use canned corn for sheep's head. So apparently that does work. Damn, Thread Red's hitting us hard on TikTok right now. Thanks, buddy. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? So we talked about the gag grouper numbers, not good. The jetty update, we mentioned it last time, but I want to make sure we update you again that we won. The city of Madeira Beach is helping us out in reopening fishing access to the Johns Pass jetty. So big win for fishermen showing up to the city meeting and making that change happen. It was pretty cool. Your 2025 schedule is out, so if you are ready to get on a 2025 trip, book one of those red snapper trips, gag grouper trips, one of these trips in 2025. You want to definitely get out there and book it sooner than later, because these trips are filling up really quickly. So book your red snapper trips, book your gag grouper trips, your amberjack trips here quickly. Book your 2025 trips now. That way you make sure you reserve the spot and bunks you want, all that good stuff. Also, our Regulars Club signups is open, so definitely a good time to get out there and join the Regulars Club if you're interested. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com right on our website, hubbardsmarina.com. Hit fishing trips, then hit fishing trip information, and you're going to find the Regulars Club info. The Regulars Club is our loyalty program. You can join the Regulars Club and you get 50% off the 5 and 10 hour trips, and you get 30% off our 12, 39, and 44-hour trips, and $50 off the 12-hour extreme in that top level club. So pretty awesome. If you scroll through this page, it gives you a lot of information, and you can see the retail prices and then the price of the trip. So a 39-hour is normally $499, $500. It's only $349 or $350. So you get $150 off a 39-hour trip. A half-day trip's only $42 in that top level club. So less than $43, you're going out fishing for 5 hours. Pretty stellar options there in the Regulars Club. And if you fish a lot, this makes it very financially affordable to fish more often. So pretty cool stuff. So check out the Regulars Club. That membership is open now. You can sign up over the phone or in person. And that membership goes until December 31st of 2025. So you got plenty of time to take advantage of those deals. Are they going to make the jetty and walkway overall very well lit? So time will tell. Unfortunately, when you rebuild something nowadays, because the jetty was a little damaged, they could have repaired it. Repair permits are easy to get. They go quickly. They cost less money. And you can repair it how it was. When you destroy something, like the city manager decided to destroy the whole jetty, when you destroy something completely and you have to completely rebuild it new, that's when all these other building codes and new regulations go into place. And what I'm concerned with is they're going to start looking at rebuilding that jetty, and ADA compliance is going to come in. All these other things are going to happen, and they're going to have to put railings on it. So now you had a jetty that was a beautiful sidewalk that you could fish from easily. I'm very concerned they're going to have to put like a 6-foot tall fence on this thing to make sure someone doesn't fall. So we're going to have to kind of monitor that closely and hopefully inject some logic into that conversation. So for safety reasons, they should put really, really bright lights out there. I agree. I like where your mind's at. But it's definitely going to take a long time because they have to talk to the county, they have to talk to Army Corps, they have to get the funding, they have to get the permitting. The city manager is telling everybody it's going to be 6 to 9 months, and he's just straight up lying to people, per usual for him, because it took years to get funding to do the sand dredging. And then once we got the money, they've had the money since September of 2022 to dredge that sand accruement behind the pass there on that north side of Johns Pass. Since September 2022, they've had that money. It took them until July 2024 to file a permit request with Army Corps. And now we're stepping through that process. So almost 2 years to file a permit. So for the city manager to tell people that he'll have that sidewalk rebuilt in 6 to 9 months is as asinine as the gag grouper numbers earlier we showed you. It's heinous. He's lying because it's going to take a month just to have to start meetings to just begin to talk about who funds it, how they fund it, where the funding comes from. And then once you have the funding, you have to start the permit process. And that takes at least a year, if not more. So it's comical that the city manager is telling everybody 6 to 9 months because he's lying, and he knows it. Hashtag lying. I don't know where to go for that. I don't know what I was going to say, but it was going to be funny. All right, do we have one more question we can end on? I don't like ending on a negative note. Where on earth did they find the city manager? He was pretty good, and then he just spun out. Now he won't answer my phone calls or my text messages, probably because I talk so much shit about him. But you do a shitty job, you deserve shit talking. That's kind of how the world works, right? Especially in public service. If you are that poor at your job, you don't deserve to serve the people because you're not serving the people, right? Any seminars or events coming up, we don't have any events coming up scheduled right now, but the Friendly Fisherman Bar area reopened, and we had our big Regulars Club and Supporters Club party with free beer, free food. It was a great time, and it turned out really, really, really well. Everybody enjoyed it. The area is laid out nicely. So we're talking with the general manager over there, and we're going to talk about having some kind of party or event. I'm leaning towards doing some fishing seminars over there. So we're supposed to have a meeting this week or next and plan something like that out. It would be pretty fun. So no seminars yet, but coming soon. Plus, I want to work with Salt Strong a little bit. The Pinellas County chapter of Salt Strong has meetings like 4 minutes from my house at the Seminole City Center movie theater. So I want to work with them a little bit. Maybe we'll plan something with them too. So pretty cool. Plus, it'd be fun to do a seminar in a movie theater. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I've never kind of stood up in the front of a movie theater. You can like recline back and they serve you food there too. It's pretty legit.
And beer.
Yeah, and beer. America. All right. Are head boats all required to fill out a catch report? Not all head boats. Any head boats in the Southeast Regional Head Boat Survey. So there's no definition of head boat or party boat in the Gulf of Mexico. In the Gulf of Mexico, federal law dictates that if you're in the head boat survey, you're a head boat. So there's head boats that take 100 people offshore that are not in that survey, and they're technically not considered a head boat. They're considered a charter boat. Our boats are all head boats included in that survey since 1986, but there's only a few that are not. Most, 99%, are included. Are the hogfish biting well in late spring? Yes and no. Hogfish bite best in cooler months. We start to see them biting well around October-ish, depending on weather. Once the water temperature starts dropping, we start to see those hogfish pick up. By March, April, it starts to slow down depending on the weather. Sometimes we get these really big warm-ups in late February, early March, and all of a sudden it gets really warm. We stop seeing cold fronts, and then the water temperature is going to rise, and that hogfish bite is going to slow down early. But if we have a lot of cold fronts later in the year and it stays cold for a while, then sometimes that hogfish bite will stay good even into April. So it really depends on the weather. All right, so we talked about pretty much everything we want to talk about. We'll do our last giveaway of the night. Our last giveaway of the night is our 39-hour giveaway. You get to win a 39-hour fishing trip, a $500 value, absolutely free. So we're going to have one lucky winner of that 39-hour trip. But don't forget to tell your friends about the live show and join us next week. Every Sunday night, 7:30 p.m., we do this live stream show. It's always a good time. So hopefully we'll see you next week, Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. for our live stream show. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to our supporters out there. Our supporters after show is going to start when, Josh? 8:50. 850 supporters after show is going to start in our private supporters group. It's only $4.99 a month to join. It's a great time. You get private access to our private group. You get behind the scenes info, a little bit more communication, and access to our private after show. So think about it, only $4.99 a month, less than $5. Big value. Also, want to make sure we tell you a little bit about our friends over at Innovative Pools and Spa. They are bringing you this live show giveaway. So they are our sponsor of our 39-hour giveaway. Innovative Pools and Spa brings you 35 years of experience building pools in the Tampa Bay area, and they continue the legacy of their father's company. They have been recognized as a top pool builder in the area for 35 years. Plus, they are continuing to raise the bar in pool construction, design, and features. They have an unparalleled passion for the industry. Call them today at 727-788-1650 or visit them online at innovativepoolsandspa.net for an estimate. See why Innovative Pools and Spa is an easy choice for our community, and great people, really, really cool people. Plus, they like fishing, so you can trust them, right? All right, let's see who won that 39-hour fishing trip brought to you by our friends at Innovative Pools and Spa. We'll see you in the Supporters After Show at 8:50, and we'll see you next week for another episode of that live stream show. So hopefully you'll join in every Sunday night for another great show. Looking forward to seeing you next week. All right, and Merry Christmas, y'all. It's Christmas week. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight and being part of our Hubbard's Marina family. Lucky winner of the 39-hour fishing trip is Larry Collins. Congratulations, Larry Collins from Newton, Illinois. Y'all have a good night, tight lines, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Remember, Larry, you got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip by texting us your full home address to the phone number on the screen. We'll see you guys next week and every week at 7:30 p.m. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Y'all have a good night. Tight lines. We'll see you out there.